Hello and welcome back to Campo Largo. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is basically after Elder Hartley was having some arguably weird time with what could be described as becoming a werewolf. At least that's what he feels that's happening. Or I guess the game refers to it as a lobizón, which I mean basically is a werewolf. He grew fangs. He had shaggy long hair. The only thing that he didn't do was become canine, but he was getting there. And as proof of the fact that it wasn't all a dream, he found a very long, shaggy hair underneath the sink, which was his from when he was going like, wait a minute, why do I have fangs? Why do I have all this fur? I'm supposed to be a deer, not a canine. But yeah, and it seems to be only happening at night. And I wonder why it's happening. Elder Hartley, what are you holding on? What are you... it might have also had something to do with the crow, or not the crow, the corvid, the magpie. Anywho, aside from that, we can also kind of get a glimpse of like, what may be happening also behind the scenes with Elder Hartley, that he is or has been hiding something about himself, which might be what's manifesting, but we'll see. Anyways, so yeah, without further ado, let us continue Campo Largo. Chapter 3. I wander back to the front of the bench and our desk. I figure that I'll use the spare time. We have half our open hours left, roughly, to catch up on journaling. I reach forward and pull my journal out of the box that I've perched on the desk as a small makeshift bookshelf. As I use the bookmark to open to the right page, I note the thing that was next to this volume of my journal on my shelf. It's the spiral-bound missionary folder that we all got upon arrival, filled with necessary information, mission and emergency phone numbers, safety and food tips, etc., and with inspiring quotations from church leaders. As I slide out my journal, I catch a glimpse of the cover of the folder. Curiosity raises a question. Lying my right hand across my journal to hold it open, not too long so the sweat doesn't buckle the pages, I reach over with my left and pull out the folder. I was right. It's the Parana Conquista mission logo. In the background, the sun rises into a blue sky over a white wheat field, obviously inspired by the Paranero flag. In the foreground, a companionship of elders stands, surveying the field. The one on the left holds a gathered sheaf, and the one on the right a scythe. It's a visual allusion to the scriptural passage excerpted at the bottom, one we were all encouraged to memorize. Now behold, a marvelous work is about to come forth among the children of men. Therefore, O ye that embark in the service of God, see that ye serve him with all your heart, might, mind, and strength, that ye may stand blameless before God at the last day. Therefore, if ye have desires to serve God, ye are called to the work. For behold, the field is white already to harvest, and lo, he hath thrusteth in his sickle with his might, the same layeth up in store that he perisheth not, but bringeth salvation to a soul. And faith, hope, charity, and love, with an eye single to the glory of God, qualify him for the work. Looking at the logo now, though, I register that the right missionary is a canine of some kind, perhaps a fox, and the one on the left is a horse. I brace myself for the inevitable wave of dread. For some reason, though, as much as I stare, and unlike the past couple of days, the dread doesn't pour into me. It's a logo. It's a clear reference to scripture with artistic license, scythe instead of a sickle. The designer picked two common genuses to represent. I've seen the logo regularly in the 6 months that I've been here. It's on every monthly newspaper. It's on all of the mission stationery. It opens every zone conference slideshow. And it predates my arrival here by years. I doubt anyone still remembers who created it. And it's about gathering souls for salvation, not reaping corpses. What it's not, a resurgence of some occultist image that I saw just 2 days ago. I continue staring as if I'm shining a light in the dark corner to chase away cockroaches of supernatural malevolence. When I've conquered the enemy, I slip the folder back into its spot. Then I turn to my journal and write, blissfully serene, impassive. To my surprise, I've even been able to fit in a short nap before we have to head out at 1800 hours, hoping to recover a bit from the sleep deficit that I've racked up. My grogginess after waking is unwelcome, though. I find myself waking up gradually over the course of the evening, to the point that, when we get home, I'm barely sleepy. This does not bode well for my recurrent bouts of insomnia. It's been a particularly frustrating evening for proselytizing, too. One person told us to go bother people who actually needed it, like children and drunks. Another exceptionally helpful pointed out a house on the next block where she thought some Mormons lived. The house, and Mana Vargas waved at us as we passed it. No teaching records to update tonight. Our planning session is perfunctory. I let Elder Suarez select the primary plans and I assist with backup ones. In accordance with my fast and despite rising hunger and thirst, I skip my nightly snack and drink. Then I brush my verifiably normal teeth and, in declaration of defiance against my dream world disturbances, slip my retainer in again. I do the meditation routine again tonight, tensing all of my body parts in sequence from eyes and ears to tail to hooves. I'm wandering through the monte. I'm not quite sure why I call it that. It just seemed like the right word. Monte. It's a tangle of green shades from sage to forest. I walk by trees. I feel that I should know their names. Or at least that I should know which name corresponds to which trees. I've seen the names everywhere, from shop signs to street names. Algarrobo, Quebracho, Cibo, Lapacho, Espinillo, Tatane. The one that I do recognize is the easiest, a bulbous, almost pear-shaped trunk, with squat spines all over it. That's the pale barrocho. I dug my antlers under vines and branches, lifting my hooves over small cacti. The sun is directly overhead in the cloudless sky, and the shade cast by the low trees squatting in the heavy air does nothing to tamp down the temperature. If anything, it heightens it. The air here is still, only minor eddies from above twitching the hairs in my ears. Why am I out here? Why am I out in the full blaze of the day? My throat and tongue refuse to answer. They're dry, unlubricated by saliva. I need water, soon. I pick up my pace, pushing through the underbrush. If I remember correctly, there should be a laguna around here. If not, a river is a ways over that way. I don't know how I know this, but that's no matter. I just need to get there. I can see that just ahead the forest will open up, either a meadow-like patch or, hopefully, the laguna. I scent the air, trying to detect hints of either. It's inconclusive, so I keep going. I'm right, the forest opens up. But as I push through the last branches and vines, I see not a laguna or a meadow, but a field of uniform plants, each about waist height, baked brown by the sun. On their stalks are tufts of white. I lean down to examine one. The stalk snaps off between my hoof tips, brittle, but the white is soft, pillowy. I think it's cotton. I look up and around. The forest is behind me, but in front it's flat as far as the eye can see, barely punctuated by small copses. The laguna must be this way. I'll just go to the river instead. I I decide to keep pushing forward. The plants grasp at my legs and hips, an unpleasant sensation, but not worse than thirst. I hope the farmer doesn't mind that I'm ruining some of his crop. I really need water. Suddenly, I hear a rustling to my right. I don't know how I didn't spot him before, but there's someone bent over in the field, plucking balls of cotton and tossing them into a sack that he's carrying already swollen and heavy. He doesn't seem to hear my approach, despite my noisiness. Señor. My voice is weak, almost a whisper despite me trying to shout. I try again, only 10 feet away now from this form. He's got on a loose shirt and a wide-brimmed straw hat. His light pants let out a long-haired white tail. Señor. That attempt comes out better, and one of his ears swivels back. He swings his bag into the space between the rows of cotton and straightens up, turning to look at me. I'm barely 3 feet away when I finally see him, hoof to snout. It's him. The horse. His body is obviously strong under the shirt. The top several buttons are left undone, showing a bit of his chest and the full arc of his neck. He has kind eyes with an inquisitive gaze and a friendly smile. When he speaks, it's in English. Hey there, want something to drink? My eyes go wide, my mouth agape. All thoughts of quenching my thirst flee my mind. Before I know it, I'm running away. Running away, away through the field, away to the trees, away, just to get away. My legs all four pounding against the unnatural soil, the unnatural plants tearing at me. My tongue out breathing fast, not looking back until the room. The bedroom. In the bench. In Campo Largo. My eyes have opened. It seems bright, so morning is probably coming in. The fan is running, but it's still terribly hot. I turn my head to look at my alarm clock, but it appears a little blurry. I blink, trying to clear my vision. My eyelids close and reopen strangely slowly, and my vision still isn't clear. I reach out to pull the clock closer instead. 0047. I've barely been asleep 2 hours. I replace my clock on the end table and lie back on my pillow, pressing my eyelids closed again against that weird friction. It's then that I notice my mouth, my throat, my nose. It feels like there's no saliva, no mucus. Back in high school, I got a chance to visit a storage facility for glacier ice cores. It was a giant walk-in freezer kept at -40 Fahrenheit. We were only inside the freezer for a couple of minutes, but I can still recall the sensation of my snot crystallizing inside my nostrils, in addition to the weird burning of cold air in my lungs. It's approximately 130 degrees hotter here, but the feeling is uncannily similar. Exposed, sharp, dry. I try to curl up one way, pressing myself into sleep, but it's too late. Behind my eyelids, I can feel the every motion of my eyes. Every second, I am acutely aware of every breath in through my nose, every time my tongue moves. The interior of my nose suddenly feels enormous, expansive, as I can feel every square inch of it as a hot breeze passes over every sensitive hair or patch of skin. The scent of smoke, evidently wafting in from outside, doesn't help with the sense that I'm sitting in the middle of some fire, just with dampened heat. My senses are all on alert, wary, awake, which means that I cannot fall asleep. I glance at the clock again after what seems like an eternity. 0100 hours 13 minutes. It hasn't even been 30 minutes. I groan. I need something to drink. My body is declaiming its dryness in a way that it never has. But I'm fasting, I tell myself. No food or drink for a day. Another part of me stares that part down. You didn't used to skip the drink part, it says. But I'm trying to reduce distraction, I respond. I need to prove that I'm capable of subduing the natural man for a higher purpose. I need to help people. The other part of me raises its eyebrow. Do you think, it asks sardonically, that you'd be better off dehydrated and sleep-deprived? But, no, it states, you need to get a drink. I acquiesce. Rolling over onto my knees, I offer a quick prayer, apologizing that I have to break the water part of my fast and promising to continue the food half until it's done, asking for the strength to do it, to complete my promise, and to banish the distractions. I stumble out of bed trying to be quiet. Without turning on a light, I make my way to the kitchen, where I retrieve a plastic cup from the cupboard. I pull down the tap on the water jug we keep atop the fridge, filling up the cup. Immediately, eagerly, and greedily, I drink it the whole thing. I refill it, down it all again, and again, and again. Slowly, my sense of desiccation starts to ease. Water in my mouth becomes spit, my nose no longer feels like a desert, and my eyes start producing tears once more. It's almost blissful in a way. I think that I'm not on my fifth cup when I realize something. Not once did I bring the cup to my lips and tilt my head back to drink. Instead, into every glass of water thus far, I've dipped my snout, stuck out my tongue, and lapped it up. I pull my face back and drop the cup. A splatter and a clatter as it hits the floor and dumps its contents on the tile. I stand there in the dark, frozen, breathing. And as I'm thinking about lapping water up like a theric, I notice I've got my tongue out still. I'm panting. I let out a small sound of surprise, strangling before it can crescendo into a scream. Dryness no longer distracting, and with my attention turned to my mouth, I can feel again what was there last night. The canine teeth. The fangs. They're back. Something is wrong with me. Very, very wrong with me. And as if on cue, I detect the smell that was on my sheets this morning. Yesterday morning. It's more intense now, acrid and sour. I cannot not notice it. And I know that it's me. I need to get it off. I need to get it all off. I go back to the bedroom to retrieve an extra set of garments. In the dark, my first swipe at the door handle misses and my hoof scrapes loudly against the door. I freeze for a moment listening, but Elder Suarez's breathing is slow, steady, and unchanged. I look down and grab the door to shut it. I don't know what good it'll do, but I go into the bathroom and close the door. Remembering the visions of nights past and uninterested in confirming all my fears tonight, I face away from the mirror as I flip the light switch. I blink as the room goes bright, taking mental notes of the locations of a couple of items: the water valve for the calphon, the valve for the calphon's shower head, my bar of soap. Notes taken, I close my eyes that could see the mirror in its peripheral vision. I step back, keeping my body pointed towards the shower, and turn off the light. The bathroom returns to darkness, deepened even more by the sudden retreat of the light. But I don't need light to shower. In a small victory, I managed to find all the requisite items using spatial memory and proprioceptional alone. I turn on the water and open the shower head valve. The water coming into the near empty bucket is noisy, and when it comes out, it's colder than I'd like, but I don't want to wait for it to heat up or to have a time limit. Once I've dampened all my fur, I begin to scrub: base, neck, torso, arms, legs, and feet. I ignore the fact that my soap smells unusually strong. I ignore the fact that my ears don't feel quite right. I ignore the fact that my fur feels longer, less coarse. I ignore the fact that, for the first time that I can recall, my antlers readily knock against the calphon and shower head. Through some miracle, I don't drop the soap. It would have been impossible to find. When I'm thoroughly soaping myself up, I set down the soap and just stand there. I let the water run over me, spilling down my head, dripping off my ears and chin, forming virulets that I can feel down my chest and shoulder blades, across my stomach and down my spine. It's soothing. After a passage of time I can't measure, I move to systematically rinse the remaining suds out of my fur, working the soap out by touch and texture. I decide to leave my fur slightly damp as I towel off, still in the dark. Something within tempts me to turn on the light, to look in the mirror. Get thee behind me, Satan, I mentally admonish myself and keep my hands far from the switch. I hang my towel up. Okay, I tell myself, it's time for sleep, for real this time. I open the bathroom door, and as I try to, my antlers hit the door jab with a thunk. In spite of my wet hooves, I keep my balance. Something is very wrong. No. I dug my head, ignoring that I've never been tall enough to need to duck through a doorway even with fully grown antlers. I reached down, as before, and turned the handle slowly, quietly. I sneak across the room and slide into bed. It creaks slightly underneath me. My damp fur is especially cool in the breeze from the fan, and the heat of the summer night almost seems to disappear. My mouth and eyes feel wet, normal again. The scent of my soap fills my nose. Not whatever the other smell was. My brain tries to wander. Something is very wrong. Should I tell someone? Who would I tell? Who would believe me? I don't believe me. What if all of these things I've seen really are real? What in the world would they do about me, to me? I can't. It's all a dream. It's a distraction. What if you're losing your mind? No, it's just a dream. Just dreams mixing and remixing memories. I have to stop this spiral. Under my breath, I begin to pray. I run through a list, as long as I can make it, of things to be grateful for. For my family, for the gospel, for the chance to be on a mission, for a diligent and competent companion, for a great area, for great people that I'm serving and working with. For a bed, for sheets, for potable water, for running water, for clothes, for food, for... At some point, after who knows how long, after uncounted items, some repeated as welcome drowsiness creeps in, my gratitude fades, gratefully, into unconsciousness. Once more, I awake with my alarm, bleary. I roll over to kneel as Elder Suarez begins the companionship prayer. Next thing that I know, though, I think he's calling to me. My ears register his voice. Sounds like from the other room. Elder? I stretch under my sheet. Darn it. I'd fallen asleep, knees tucked under me. I hadn't even heard the end of Elder Suarez's prayer. Hadn't started my own prayer either. Mm-mm? And I'm sleepily inarticulate too. But I lever myself up and out of bed, taking halting, clacking steps across the room and out the door. Elder Suarez is crouching down alongside the refrigerator. In the light, I can see a cup and a puddle of water there on the floor. My ears and tail and mind come instantly to attention. He leans forward and, reaching for something just out of sight around the fridge, pulls up a chunk of resin and wire. That would be my retainer. Despite my jolt of awareness, I'm still feeling sluggish and he beats me to speech. Is this yours? Trying to play it cool, I close the gap between us and hold out a hand. Yeah, that's mine, thanks. He deposits it in my palm. Ugh, I'll have to wash it well. No idea how I got there. Looks like you were getting a glass of water. I really don't want to talk about what was going on last night. Not to myself, let alone to him. And it's gonna be hotter today. Yeah, it was really warm last night. Going to be a scorcher today. He stands up, head above my antlers. That's what I suspect. I find it very comfortable, but I know that you endotherms can struggle with it. Make sure you get enough water and salts, yes? His eyes seem to see right into me. I broke the water part of my fast, but I need to complete the food part. I need to. But he doesn't need to know. You know, let me clean that up. Go ahead and shower. He nods and we trade places, him slipping past me to gather his shower supplies and I passing into the kitchen. I tossed a cup into the sink and pulled out one of the few dish towels that we've got. I set to mopping up the puddle, apparently reduced to a little by evaporation since the middle of the night. I've tried to tell myself that these are dreams, vivid dreams outlined by physical senses that are typically subdued in dream worlds. But I keep finding evidence that they are not dreams, that they really happened, really occurred, here, to me, in the flesh. It's insane. These things don't happen. These things can't happen. People don't, change. Not like that. Not bodily. Not overnight and back. Stop it. Nephi's words to the angel come to mind. I do not know the meaning of all things. Nevertheless, I know that God loveth his children. I don't need to understand. It'll be all right. Things will work out if I press forward in faith. Endure to the end, right? I've wiped up the spill, washed the cup, and thoroughly rinsed my retainer when I hear a rustle at the foot of the front door. I look over just in time to see a small sheet of paper slide in under it. My footsteps towards the door match those of the person walking away. They must be distributing leaflets. I bend over to pick it up and instinctively I read the front, which between fire and irregular lettering looks like an ad for a Halloween clearance sale. La brujería existe. Sospecha que la hicieron un mal. Quiere saberlo. Observe con atención estos síntomas. But it's definitely not that. They don't do Halloween down here. Does witchcraft exist? Do you suspect that they've put a curse on you? Do you want to know? Pay attention to these symptoms. I turn it over where there are 2 whole columns of witchcraft symptoms listed like, you found black oil in your house. There are times and an address for the great spiritual cleansing, multiple times tomorrow, looks like, but no indication of the institution that printed it and will be hosting the event. I know who it is though, and it's pretty obvious, the Universal Church of the Kingdom of God. Founded across the border in Amazonia, they've planted branches all over Parana by this point, each emblazoned with their dove and heart logo and Jesus Christ is the Lord and Stop Suffering slogans. We had some investigators in Puerto Mocavi who would attend Universal Church services but never, I note with some consternation, ours. But from what I could gather, their deal is mystical items for purchase, a dose of prosperity gospel, Pentecostal spiritual warfare. And, as the leaflet explains, regularly scheduled exorcisms of the black magic and demons that supposedly cause nearly every problem. With rumors of financial malfeasance circulating too, outsiders tend to view the Universal Church as a scam. I try not to judge other traditions, as I know my incredulity towards their practitioners is mirrored back towards me. In this case, I recall Mormon stories of possessions and warnings against Ouija boards, and at least one technique for exorcism, none of which, however, have been broadcast openly and officially for decades. They live on in folklore shared through whispered rumors by old men in high priests' classes, in certain forums online, and in some undiscerning missionaries' district meetings. But I do not like passing along such tales. I don't like to see people getting taken advantage of, and don't like blaming everything on magic or spirits. Even as I roll my eyes, a thought squirms into the back of my mind, a sarcastic edge to its words. But what about your fangs and ferrous-hued fur and pheromones, Those are totally inexplicable by natural causes. I scowl at the leaflet as if I had been the source of the question. It's bunk. This sort of thing doesn't happen. I resolve to discard the sheet of paper that's tempting me into insanity. Halfway to tossing the leaflet in the trash, though, I stop. This is a fascinating artifact, I reason. I should preserve it, anthropologically, as a bit of local flavor and material culture. I pause, hand hovering over the trash can, ready to release. But it's an anthrop production that speaks of a particular worldview, seeking fantastical explanations and solutions for everyday problems. Maybe I could write a paper about it back at school. It's nothing to be afraid of. I'm convinced. I'll keep it. But it is a distraction for now, so instead of stashing it on my desk with my other papers, I return to the bedroom, pull out my suitcase from under my bed, and slip it into a folder that I keep there. I only catch a glimpse of her last letter, which I'd forgotten. I put it there before I close the folder and slide the suitcase back under. There, done. To an unseen audience, I brush off my hands, as if the leaflet had let loose dirt on them. I turn my back on the bed. In accordance with my fast, I don't eat breakfast, But as Elder Suarez wraps up his shower, I make sure to wet down a bowl and a spoon, placing them in the dish drainer to make it seem like I had. I don't want questions. And so, naturally, as we sit down for personal study at 1800 hours, Elder Suarez asks a question. Elder, do you have the Liahona article you mentioned the other day? I'd like to read it. I feel like my heart drops down into my feet. If I react strangely, delay or deny or decline, he might clue in to something. I've got to play this cool, nonchalant. I've got the article right here. Because I do. It's on my checkerbox board bookshelf right next to the Liahona with a good article on asking questions and a couple of issues that I'd found useful. I reach for it and hesitate, remembering a detail. But, it's in English. He's drawn his lips into an even further line, thinking, deciding how to approach this roadblock. Half of me wants to figure out some way for him to read it. More people should read it after all. The other half wants the topic to drop forever. I'll check it out. Maybe I can figure some of it out. Or perhaps we could study it together for language study this afternoon. My throat tightens and I hold my eyes back from going wide. Keep it cool, keep it cool. We could try that, yeah. Horrified at my polite, inconvenient agreement, I pull out the magazine, looking at the happy couple on the cover, and hand it over with a practiced smile. There you go. Good luck then. Thanks, Elder. He immediately cracks it open, fluttering through the pages to the article, which I guess he recognizes by the imagery. There is a photo of Elder Vanderberg and a pastel pastoral illustration of Adam and Eve with their children. He sets it aside, the words same-gender attraction in the title legible. I look away, trying to keep it out of my peripheral vision. It's an impossible task. It's barely 3 feet away, just on the other side of Elder Suarez, who has now pulled out his own scriptures. I look down at my own Bible. Minutes pass and I realize that I'm retaining nothing of the passage that I'm trying to read. I try to force it into my brain. Tengamos un fortísimo consuelo los que hemos acudido para asirnos de la esperanza puesta delante de nosotros, la cual tenemos como segura y firme ancla de alma, y que penetra hasta dentro del vuelo, donde Jesús entró por nosotros como precursor. It doesn't stick. Besides the passage having the obscurely grammared language and bizarrely organized structure of the New Testament epistle, I'm distracted by the scenarios where I'm translating the article live for my companion. Paraphrasing, explaining, looking up words and phrases, elucidating English idioms. He's right there beside me now. My eyes dart over. He's not looking at me. He's entranced by his own reading, black skilled fingers holding the pages open. I guess he doesn't have to worry about sweat rippling the pages. He doesn't sweat. I'm sweating. It's morning. The heat hasn't really begun to mount yet. I get up a little too abruptly. Elder Suarez doesn't react at all. I get a drink of water. Unthinking, I open the fridge and almost pull out an apple, but I catch myself and put it back. I take a detour to the bathroom. I catch my breath and steel myself, flushing the toilet as an oral decoy before re-emerging. I pull out my agenda to remember what lessons we've got scheduled this morning, but there's nothing specific or special that I can prepare for. It's all trying to find new investigators. When the hour ends and it's time to leave, I berate myself for making a show of looking busy, diligent while getting absolutely nothing done, learning nothing. I apologize in prayer and ask for forgiveness, assistance with succeeding in my fast in these last few hours. Help me focus, help me serve, help me meet the potential thou seest in me. It's only 1900 hours and it's already warm and wet outside. And it only gets worse as the sun climbs in the northern sky. As we go from contact to contact, house to house, running through our list of people to find, I remind myself of the commitment not to complain. Jesus Christ fasted for 40 days and 40 nights in the desert to prepare for missionary and to vanquish temptation. Yes, I know that the number 40 is a biblical literary conversion used to signify a generic large number. And yes, I know that we're forbidden by the missionary handbook from fasting more than 24 hours. But what would it say about me if I couldn't manage even that? Distraction. Stop it, elder. Focus on the context. But they run together. Si te digo, te miento. Soy católico apostólico romano. Si te digo lico apostólico miento. I find myself leaving more contacts for Elder Suarez than our typical 50-50 alternation. Or maybe he's just taking the lead. I can't figure out which it is and I'm having a hard time caring. Elder Suarez manages to talk to an elderly lizard, skin more folded than most reptiles, and she says yes when he asks if we could join her. Elder Suarez asks her a question. I don't catch what he asks. She begins an answer, something about her son, something about praying to the Virgin. I force my eyes open. Something about government pensions. I'm awake. I lean forward to hear her better. Elder Suarez says something about God's plan for happiness and looks to me. Yes, through the restored gospel, God has made it possible for our families to be happy here and in the hereafter. Elder Suarez's face gets a little different than I've seen on it, confusion and consternation. The woman starts weeping and talking about her son again. I am awake. Now she's talking about a radio show that she listens to. Elder Suarez is saying something to her. He takes one of her hands and pats it with his. I'm awake. He's standing up saying that we'll come back soon. I get up and have to grab the back of the chair as a wave of lightheadedness hits me. My head begins to throb in time with my heart. I follow Elder Suarez away from the old woman's porch. Elder, did you sleep last night? My senses are coming back to me. I was fighting for consciousness back there, fighting valiantly and thinking that I was winning. I was very wrong about winning a battle with consciousness. I grip my scripture bag strap as if the tension will somehow chase away how rude I was during the chat. I tried to sleep. It seems like you were catching up on sleep back there. I wince. She spent half the time talking about how alone she was and how little attention her children give her, and then you promise her eternal family happiness. I want to crawl into a box and die. She just wanted someone to listen for a while. A very small box, and that's all that it would take to contain my remaining self-assuredness. I'm so sorry about that. I'll see if I can take a siesta. He nods, lips still firm. I hear him breathing in and breathing out in a deliberate rhythm. I pray for strength to continue, to focus, to serve people. Eventually, we make it to the plaza after wandering the rest of the neighborhood. I check my watch for the 14th time since we left the bench. 11:42. 18 minutes before our lunch appointment with Hermana Camiletti. We'll have to do contacts until then. I try to scan the plaza for promising candidates. People are out running their last errands before stores and offices close for the siesta, which means that there are more activity than normal in the plaza and on the main streets. But no one sticks out to me. They seem indifferent, an amalgam of anthropes. The spirit isn't speaking to me about any of them. That's the opposite of what a fast is supposed to do. Don't complain, Elder. Elder? I'm brought back to the moment. Yeah? How about those folks? He raises a hand and points across the plaza, the question in the gesture. I blink to clear my vision, turning my head to follow his finger. I have to steady my gaze as the plaza seems to keep moving after I move, and I see a gaggle of several male figures. I think that that's the same jaguar that I saw in the zebra yesterday, tall and broad, arms bare, and next to him, almost as large and facing away from us, indisputably familiar, is that white horse from the terminal. The one that I literally ran into. And he turns and spots me and smiles at me with those big equine teeth. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Yeah, Elder, you definitely have some problems. And I suppose that you could all say that that it's all connected to the fact that that he was doing like the little tarot reading. He got the death card, the white horse and whatnot. And that the fact that a white horse keeps popping up, but like it obviously means a lot more than just the fear of the occult or whatever. Because the story keeps sort of not heavy-handedly, but sort of keeps telling you like, hey, this guy keeps panicking whenever the topic of the LGBT, the homosexual, same-sex attraction keeps popping up. The fact that he's dreading having to translate this article that previously had presented as like, hey, look, just because they have a different way of life doesn't mean that we should turn our backs on them, when they were talking to the Vargases. And now he's like, oh crap, I don't want to talk about this with my companion, the guy that is with me 24/7, 7 days a week for the rest of this mission. And it's like, it keeps popping up more and more and more and more for him, and he keeps wanting to run away from it. So I kind of think that this is revolving around that. And as for the white horse, I kind of feel like maybe there's more in his past that we haven't seen. I don't know if it's going to be discussed or not, but like uh, maybe he had some form of attraction in the past, and now he's having to confront it. And because of him wanting to run away and not wanting to deal with it, it's manifesting as a physical transformation into what could be described as a sort of werewolf type creature. The lobison. But yeah. What are your thoughts? Write it down in the comments, and thank you all for watching/listening. If you would like to play Campo Largo yourself, you can do so by going down into the link in the description, which have a direct link for the itch.io page where you can download and play the game yourself. They do have a Patreon and a Ko-fi, as you can see right there on the bottom left. So if you would like to support the project and support the development of, Campo Largo, and presumably get earlier access to builds of Campo Largo, I don't know, subscribe to them. This is a very interesting story, because I think that it's going to be sort of like accepting who you are type of story. And if that's what it's going to be, then telling it through the lens of somebody that is in a religion that at the very least appears to look down on that, as evidenced by the Vargases, is an interesting thing. So yeah, support them if you want. If you would like to support the channel, become a channel member, and you get earlier access to these videos as they're being scheduled. And it's like a nice way of saying like, hey, I like your videos. I like what you do. Here's some money on a monthly basis. And I go, hey, thank you. Videos, watch them. But yeah, I do have a Ko-fi also, in case you feel inclined to donate through there instead. Any form of support is appreciated. Any, like the video, comment, subscribe, do all that. Also, I have a throne in case you're feeling overly generous. It's not necessary, but it is there. Anyways, all that in the description. But yeah, so that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next part. Bye-bye.